She's sitting alone. It's late. The kind of late where the city has gone quiet and the only light in the room is coming from her phone. She's scrolling, not looking for anything in particular, and then she stops. Another engagement post, another woman she vaguely knows, beaming in a photo, a ring catching the light, a man beside her who looks at her like she's the answer to something. She stares at it longer than she means to. And here's the thing, it's not jealousy. It's something quieter and more confusing than that, because she starts to remember. She remembers the men who came before, the ones she passed on, the one who was kind but not exciting enough, the one who was stable but didn't make her feel that pull, the one who tried, genuinely tried, and she told herself, I deserve more than this. Back then, that felt like wisdom. It felt like self-respect. It felt like knowing her worth. Now, sitting in the dark with someone else's happiness glowing in her palm, it feels like something else entirely. Not wrong, she's not ready to call it wrong, but incomplete. Like a sentence she's been writing for years that still doesn't have an ending. And the question rises up slowly, the way uncomfortable questions always do. What if waiting wasn't the advantage she thought it was? What if patience, done a certain way, isn't a strategy at all? This isn't one woman's story. That's the first thing to understand. This is a pattern, a quiet, repeating pattern, playing out across thousands of lives in ways that look almost identical when you step back far enough to see them. The logic was always the same. Wait longer, choose more carefully. Don't settle for less than what you deserve. And on the surface, that logic sounds not just reasonable, but admirable. Nobody should tell a woman to lower her standards. Nobody should pressure her into choosing someone who doesn't feel right. But patterns don't lie. And the outcomes, the actual lived outcomes, are starting to look unexpectedly similar in ways that are worth paying attention to. Because the women who followed this logic most faithfully, the ones who held the line the longest, are often the ones sitting alone tonight. Let's go back to the beginning. Back to the idea that started all of this. Somewhere along the way, a picture formed. The right man would be exceptional, not just good, not just decent, but exceptional across every dimension that mattered. Physically attractive, financially successful, emotionally available, intellectually stimulating, ambitious but not absent, confident but not arrogant, passionate but not overwhelming. He would appear, and when he did, she would know. There would be no confusion, no compromise, no settling. He would simply be right. It's a beautiful idea. The problem is that reality doesn't distribute human qualities that cleanly. Real men, real people, are always a mixture. The one with the ambition sometimes struggles with availability. The one with the emotional depth sometimes lacks the drive. The one who's present and kind might not ignite the specific kind of excitement she had in mind. Reality doesn't sort itself into perfect packages, and waiting for one means, almost inevitably, rejecting everything that falls short of an ideal that may never actually arrive. And here's where something subtle but important starts to happen. Standards, which begin as healthy self-knowledge, start to calcify. They evolve quietly and without announcement from preferences into requirements. What once was, this would be nice to have, becomes, this is non-negotiable. What once was openness becomes a checklist. What once was genuine connection becomes constant evaluation. Every conversation, a job interview, every date, a performance review. The pool of possibility doesn't just shrink under this kind of pressure, it fragments. Because now it's not enough to be good. Someone has to be good in exactly the right configuration. And with every new condition added to the list, the number of people who qualify doesn't just get smaller, it approaches something dangerously close to zero. Modern dating made all of this so much worse because modern dating created a perception, a deeply seductive and almost entirely false perception. That choice is infinite. There are always more profiles, always more matches, always more messages from men who seem interested, who seem promising, who seem like maybe this time it could be different. The sheer volume of it suggests abundance. It suggests that the market is full, that there's always something better just around the next swipe. But perceived options and real options are not the same thing. Most of what dating apps serve up is temporary, misaligned, non-committal. Men who are browsing, not choosing. Men who want the feeling of connection without the weight of it. The illusion of infinite choice keeps people searching, keeps them convinced that the right one is still out there, still coming, still just a little further down the road. But the searching itself becomes the substitute for choosing. And years pass that way, genuinely. What's easy to forget, or maybe easier not to think about, is that time isn't neutral. It feels passive, like it's just sitting there, waiting alongside you, holding everything in place until you're ready. But it isn't. Time moves things. It changes things. Priorities shift. Not just yours, but everyone else's too. The men who were once looking for a serious relationship find one with someone else and step off the market. The ones who were open to commitment get older and become more set in their patterns. The pool doesn't stay full while you deliberate. It drains slowly while you're deciding whether to swim. There's something else that gets misread along the way, and it might be the most important confusion of all. Attention gets mistaken for opportunity, and they are not the same thing. Being desired, having men notice you, pursue you, express interest, feels like proof that you have options, and in a way you do. But being desired in the short term is not the same as being chosen for the long term. A man can find you magnetic and have no intention of building anything real. Attention is easy to generate. Commitment is something entirely different. And mistaking one for the other keeps people in a holding pattern, feeling like something is happening when in the ways that actually matter, nothing is. And then there's the comfort of not yet, because every time a decision comes up, every time someone real is standing in front of you with real potential, it's so much easier to say not yet. Not yet because something feels off. Not yet because you're not sure. Not yet because you're still young, still have time, still deserve to be certain before you commit. Not yet feels like protection. It feels like avoiding a mistake, but not yet, applied often enough and long enough, becomes something else. It becomes the decision by default. And what felt like control slowly reveals itself as postponed reality. Reality that was always going to arrive just on its own schedule instead of yours. The gap, when it becomes visible, is never dramatic. There's no single moment where everything collapses. It's subtler than that. It's fewer meaningful options. It's the same kinds of conversations repeating themselves without going anywhere. It's a growing, quiet sense that something isn't aligning, that the path she expected to be on and the path she's actually on have been diverging for longer than she realized. Not a crisis, just an undeniable accumulation of evidence. And the cost, the real cost of all those years of waiting, nobody talks about it directly because inaction feels like safety. Choosing nothing feels like choosing not to make a mistake, but there is a cost. There are connections that got passed over, timing that closed, men who moved on and built lives elsewhere, possibilities that were real once and then quietly weren't. It doesn't happen all at once. It accumulates the way debt accumulates. And by the time you can see the full number, it's much harder to change. What actually matters in a relationship that lasts, and this is the part that doesn't show up in the fantasy, is quieter than what sparks it. Attraction matters, yes. Chemistry matters. But the things that carry a relationship through years, through difficulty, through the inevitable ordinariness of real life together, those are consistency, emotional stability, a shared sense of where you're going, the ability to show up, not just in the exciting moments, but in the unremarkable ones. The traits that sustain love are almost never the ones that make the story feel like a movie in the beginning. They're the slower, less obvious qualities that only reveal their value over time. The issue, looked at honestly, was never having standards. Standards are not the problem. Miscalibration is the problem. The list kept growing, not based on what actually creates lasting happiness, but based on an image, a story, an idea of what the perfect partner would look and feel and be like. And the question that never got asked, the one that might have changed everything, wasn't quote 3, it was quote 4. That question, the honest, grounded, uncomfortable version, is where clarity lives. And clarity, it turns out, is very different from fantasy. She puts the phone down, not in defeat, not in despair, in something more like understanding, the kind that comes slowly and sits heavy but doesn't break you. The story she believed wasn't entirely wrong. Wanting something real, something good, something worthy of her, that was never the mistake. The mistake was in the model. In the picture, she was holding up against reality, rejecting everything that didn't match. Waiting didn't guarantee better. It only delayed real decisions. And the men who got passed over, some of them were exactly what she needed, in the form she didn't recognize because it didn't look like what she'd imagined. Prince Charming was never late. He just never existed in the way she pictured him. And the real thing, the actual available imperfect human real thing, was always something different, something less cinematic and more livable, something that required her to choose it, not just wait for it to arrive and announce itself. That realization changes everything, and it changes nothing. But sitting with it honestly, without defense, without excuses, is where something new can finally begin.